Hi guys, welcome to our third installment in our webinar series. This is the final one for 2020. We'll be excited to kick back off with you in 2021, and we'll get you more details after the holiday on that one, which is going to be really around trends and cultivating a legacy brand in the natural products industry. But today we're going to talk to you about marketing tools to increase your velocities, both digital, virtual, and in store. And I'm going to be presenting alongside Courteau today. And really, there's no one better to talk to you about in-store marketing than Aaron. He has been working in stores for really his whole career since he was honestly a kid. And his mom was the first general manager of Mississippi Market. So he knows this space real well. And so he's going to talk to you towards the end of the presentation about in-store marketing, but we're going to start out talking to you about digital marketing. And we can't talk about digital marketing without talking about social media. So social media, especially with where our world is at and with the effect that COVID has had, is it's just imperative that you have a social media strategy for your business and that you're executing on it. And we're going to talk to you today about all the different ways to do that and to build a really successful social media plan. So what do we use social media for? We use it to connect with our audience and build a brand, to increase our sales, and to drive traffic to our website. And this is going to involve publishing great content, listening to and engaging with your followers. This is a two-way relationship, collaborating with other brands or industry influencers, analyzing your results, and running ads. And we're going to kind of talk through each component of this. When you think about social media and what platforms to use, and what the engagement is like, or the demographic is like from platform to platform, this graph does a great job of showing you what's happening on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and what the demographics are on each of those platforms. And I would say, as a brand leader or a brand founder, it's important that you have a LinkedIn account, and that you have both a personal LinkedIn account and a business LinkedIn account, and you're interacting with both. Instagram, the usage is highest among 18 to 29-year-olds, no surprise there. But then from there, college grads and the Hispanic and Black populations are really kind of the next highest demographics. So good to know there. And then Facebook usage, as you can see, that's the top line in this graph. That's pretty steady across all demographics. The big dip there is 65 and older, and that happens across every single platform. So getting started, what platforms do you need to have? So we already talked about Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. The one I would add here would be Twitter, and I would probably put it, kind of in fourth place ranking as the platforms that you should launch. Instagram and LinkedIn are probably where I would put the majority of your focus, actually. And then additional platforms to keep in mind would be Pinterest, YouTube, and then TikTok and Snapchat as other potential avenues for you as you grow your social media campaign. But if you're just getting started, I would focus on Instagram and LinkedIn. And the 6 key components to a robust social media campaign are: first, you have to identify your goals and objectives. What are you trying to accomplish through this? Then you have to create a plan, your full social media blueprint. You need to engage. As I said, it's a two-way relationship, so you need to engage with your audience, and then build up to advertising. Think about how you're going to manage it. This is a huge piece of your social media strategy. And then how are you going to analyze it? You need to understand how it's performing for you so that you can tweak it and improve it as needed. So first, identifying your goals and objectives. We've broken this down into 4 main buckets. The first is brand awareness. And this is important, obviously, if you are a new brand that is just looking to build your brand in general. It's a great way to do that. It's also really important for brands that are competing in highly competitive categories. It's a way for you to build that relationship, engage brand ambassadors for your brand, and to stand apart from the crowd. And it also allows you to partner with other brands or industry associations, cause-based missions, influencers. So just kind of building your brand awareness on that side. And then audience engagement. So it's a way for you to build out both avenues with B2B, so with other businesses, with retail buyers, with ingredient suppliers or co-packers, or other folks that might be able to help you on the marketing side of it, like B2B and then B2C. You're engaging with your clients, your customers directly. It allows you to create email lists for additional messaging and outreach that you want to do, and we're going to talk about a few options there, and helps to raise consumer confidence and support of your brand. Obviously increasing sales. I mean, that is part of why, all of us are in this business and what we're doing. We are all people here. And so site, it can push traffic to other e-tailer partners that you're working with, and it can drive traffic into brick and mortar retail. And this is a huge thing, and it's becoming something that retail brick and mortar buyers are looking for when they are considering bringing in a new brand or a new product, is what does your social media play really look like? And are you able to drive traffic into their stores? So this can actually result in greater retail placement. And then customer service, providing Q&A dialogue with an inside sales team. Sometimes it's just you as the founder doing all of it, and that's fine. Providing responses to reviews and comments, and then upselling opportunities for other products that you might have. So once you've identified your goals here, then you're going to build out your social media blueprint. This is your roadmap for what your strategy, what your campaign is going to look like. And this, what you can see here, is an image of a kind of a takeaway from our social media blueprint and the pieces that we include. So this is kind of the foundation to how we go about our social media campaign. First, you're going to identify the accounts. These are the platforms that you have accounts on, and the tone. What is the brand tone, the tone of your brand that you want to communicate? Is it really, really health focused? Is it playful? Is it for kids? What's the overall tone that you want to have? Frequency, and this is going to be by platform, and then by week or by day, how many posts you are going to be putting up, so that you know what you're tracking against, and then how to schedule it. So you're going to then schedule the content by day and by type, and it could be anything from encouraging or inspirational, educational, social proof, reviews that you're getting of your products, images of customers using your products. Behind the scenes, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more on the next slide, but really giving consumers a peek under the tent of who you are and what you do. And what I would say here, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, is that it's important that not all your posts are product forward. In fact, I would go so far as to say that most of them shouldn't be product forward. They really need to be lifestyle forward, founder forward, educational, inspirational forward, with your products there and the brand there always, but not always, here's my product, buy it. Identifying which hashtags you're going to be using in your posts, and which ones you're going to be following and engaging with. And that goes into the engagement piece. And how you are engaging with your audience, what other influencers you are targeting to engage with, what other retailers you want to engage with, have all of that identified so that you're able to then follow up on that. Your goals, as we kind of already started with, what's the goal of your social media campaign, the demographics of who you are and who your clients are, any promotions or events that you have coming up, your general guidelines to posting. You want to make sure that you're using so many hashtags and different images and different posts, have a guideline, and then your branding. What are your fonts? What are your colors? So that if you get to the point at some point, which hopefully you will, that you can have someone take over your social media account, all the information is there. So continuing with the social media blueprint, what should you really think about around content considerations and how important it is to give your brand a consistent voice? So first is create with your audience in mind. What problem are you solving for them? In their words. You want your post to speak in their voice and answer or solve the problems that they're having. So is it greater convenience? Is it a particular health challenge? Is it, more time with their family? Is it you know, the best tasting, you know, burger they've ever had. Like, what is that? What problem are you solving? And talk in their words. Personal, candid pictures of you and your products, of your consumers. Create a community and show you in your daily life, raw and unedited. The consumers interact and engage more with a person and from an emotional context than they do with anything else. So you want to be able to really touch on that. You're going to talk about your business, what's working and what isn't. Don't only show the good stuff. Let us know that you're human. Let us see the challenges that you're facing. Let us like really cheerlead for you if something goes wrong, like really pull us into your overall business. And what I would say here is you need to get comfortable talking about yourself way more than you are. And I think that we, in our worlds, we tend to think that like, just because we know something really well and we're living it day in and day out, that automatically our, you know, other folks do too, but they don't. So you want to communicate, over communicate way more than you think you do. Engagement, make no mistake, when used properly, you are building a community. You are relating and you're creating relationships with your audience, with other brands, with other organizations, influencers, retailers. So this is a big piece of it. And we're going to talk a bit more about what this relationship actually looks like and kind of how to manage that and what the flow should be. But an important piece here is hashtags are important to really attract your ideal clients. And again, to engage with the kind of folks that are ideal for you. Make it share worthy. See what resonates, what people share, what they respond best to, then iterate it. Do it again. Find 50 other different ways to share the same kind of content in the same kind of way. You can use one piece of content over and over again in new ways with new images or a new twist on what you already said. And the other piece I would say here is don't follow anyone else here or some of like the silly rules that you're going to find around what is share worthy and what isn't. My best advice to you here is to communicate in a way that is authentic and real and open and the full force of you. And the more that you do that, the more that you're going to be shared and have that resonance with your community. Mix it up in what you're sharing. Don't just have one type of media. Don't just have pictures or videos or quotes or images of your products. You want a good mix of all of those. And things that you can think about sharing are your wins, anything you're doing in the philanthropic space, who else is benefiting from your sales? What other organizations are you supporting? Challenges that you're having, as I already said, like, let us see it, let us know. Total fuck ups. When you have a total fuck up, like, let us know about it. Let us be your cheerleader. Let us support you. What you're passionate about, upcoming events you have, reviews from your consumers, any promotions you have, educational content about your ingredients or recipes or DIY with your product, new and seasonal items. Make sure that you're giving every post a call to action, and really only 1 in 4 or 5 should the call to action be to buy your product. Otherwise, it's to engage with your content in some way, to share it, to leave an emoji, to tell a story that relates to what you're sharing in your content. And sometimes less is more. So let your images and videos do the talking for you. You may not always need to add a lot of additional text here. And for the love of God, please make it fun or inspirational or motivational. We can all use a bit more ease and joy in our lives. Again, you want to connect emotionally with your audience. Not every post needs to be just, rainbows and unicorns, and definitely don't do it inauthentically, but people need to feel something to connect with something. So you want to really tap into that. And that just leads into the final one around, be informative, inspire, educate, put out really good content, and start to become a resource that your audience knows they can find really informative content through. Okay, we're still on social media blueprint. So this is all still the foundation of your social media campaign. And this one just goes a bit further into the video component. And I think we all know this, but the videos on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn to an extent tend to get more visibility, the algorithms tend to promote those more, especially the live videos. They'll move you up to kind of the top. So videos are great. And in the social space, casual videos rule, candid videos rule. The professional videos that you're doing are going to be more for what you'll use on your website, what you're going to use in buyer meetings. So those are great and also have their place, and you can for sure share those on social, but not everything you do. In fact, not most of what you do on social should be a professional video or even a professional photograph. The more candid, the better. And one company that, like, sort of your homework here, if you want to do some research into what this might look like, is go look at Midday Squares. Look at them on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. These guys are about as raw and unedited as you can get. And they have a massive community of people behind them, supporting them, and sharing stories about their products, cheering them on. These guys really give you behind the scenes on everything. And they are at times hilarious, but always engaging, and really vulnerable. It takes vulnerability to be that open in a social way, in a kind of put yourself in the spotlight sort of way. So go look, lots of content. And the point here, when I say like this is your homework, it doesn't mean replicate exactly what they're doing. You have to continue to find your authentic voice, but they're going to give you some good inspiration. Okay. A few other things here on a social media blueprint, things that you can consider adding into the content that you're putting out, and that's blogs and e-newsletters. So blogs, this blog should have a really personal narrative, whereas kind of the difference with e-newsletters is they'll have a bit more of a professional narrative, still on brand and authentic to your voice, but they'll have a bit of a different flavor for both of those. For blogs, you want to ensure that your articles are on brand or brand forward. They're relevant to your audience. They're useful and actionable in some way, that they are seasonally appropriate. Have a space on your website where you create a home for your blog posts, and then leverage them, share them on social media, share them with other influencers. You can always reference people back to your website, and it's going to help drive that traffic back to your website. With both of these blogs and newsletters, consistency is key. For blogs, you want to do at least 1 to 2 articles per month. You can always do more, but if you're doing less than that, the impact kind of starts to go away. And we listed a couple options here that we really like. There's a emerging brand out of LA called Savage Chocolate. She's fabulous. Her name is Alexis. I highly encourage all of you to go check her out. And then from a really well-established brand, Vital Proteins. They have a really robust blog section, so both great places to check out. And then e-newsletters, what you're going to include here are more brand news, events, promotions, industry news, health articles, tips, DIYs, and you want to have about a 90-10 rule here around what you're sharing and how often you're asking folks to purchase something from you. 90% is not purchasing a product or talking specifically about your products or promotions you have, it's other content. And then 10% is a call to action to purchase your products. And the great thing here is that with a newsletter, there's a lot of content that you can repurpose. You don't have to come up with all this content on your own. You can get a lot of this from some of these other influencers or industry associations that you're going to be following through your social campaign, and start to reshare some of their content. So great things to put there. Okay, so that really kind of is the foundation of the blueprint. And now we're going to talk a little bit about engagement. And I said this a couple times already, and I really want you guys to think about it this way, that this is a very personal relationship, and you shouldn't think about it any differently than a person standing right in front of you and having a personal relationship and connection with them. It's one of the few mediums that you have this immediate two-way interaction available to you, so use it. It definitely requires daily monitoring and timely responses. We're going to talk a bit how to manage that, and who in your company is responsible for this and responsible for engaging with your posts in your community. And how are you commenting back? Are you following folks back? Again, this kind of goes back to your blueprint as well, as you identify who you're interacting with and what other folks you are following on your social platforms, and decide ahead of time how you're going to manage reviews, both the positive and the negative comments. What's your response to those going to be, and how do you interact with influencers? So again, it's a two-way street. Make sure that you are engaging and and make sure that you're thinking about it, that it's not all about me, 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 me. What do I get out of this? I'm doing this so I can get sales. I'm doing this for me. Think about it as truly a relational experience. Okay, then advertising. So this is a piece, especially if you are an emerging brand, you do not have to start here. In fact, I would recommend that you don't start here. I think that you can start with just building your own communities first. And then when you get to the point where you are going to advertise, it's going to become sort of a test and learn approach for sure. And a great place to do that is on the actual social platforms, and then use those as a way to analyze what's working, what's getting engagement, what's getting sales, and then use that when you start to do like Google AdWords. Take your learnings from the social platforms and then bring it over to Google. So ads with the highest engagement are image or video driven. Again, no real surprise there. Images with someone holding your product, images with people. People want to see themselves in your product images, and then obviously offering a deal or a promotion. So as I kind of already said on when and where to start, you're going to start with the social platforms first and then move over to Google. Okay, management. This one for sure is a bit of a beast, and we have several tools at Kate LaBrosse Consulting that we use in our social media campaign. The first thing that I do, for me as the founder of my company, there's always stuff going through my head that like hits me, and I'm like, oh, I should do a post about that. Or I'll see something and like, oh, we got to reshare this, or we need to talk about that. Or some other like crazy idea that I have. And I have on my phone just what I call a thought grabber, just in my iPhone on my notes page, and I'll just keep track of that. I also have a team that supports me, and Leah is on our call today, and our social campaign is very much due in part to this lady and the work that she does. And so I will email her things, or I will share with her messages on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, things that I want her to share or create something around. So make sure that you have a way to capture all these thoughts that come to you. You need a lot of content. So you have to have a way to organize all of this. And then you need to plan it. So you can see here is a screenshot of our Trello board. This is the project management tool that we're using. And we have several different buckets here around how we're getting ready to organize and launch and share some of this content. So we have our content that we still need to create. This is sort of our thought grabber. Leah will put this in here for us, and then we'll be able to track like what we still need to create content for. Any upcoming events or promotions, stuff that Leah or someone else on the team, content that they've come up with, or an article that we want to share that I just need to go in and add some additional context to, testimonials from our clients. So all of that gets organized here. What I will say is that it's so important that you as the founder have dedicated time here to your social media campaign. I have days blocked out on my calendar, time blocked out on my calendar every week, where all I'm doing is I am engaging in my social platforms. I'm commenting on other posts or influencers. I'm following brands that I like, and I'm creating and finishing up content so that Leah can then go share it. Scheduler services, this is key. You don't want to have to be doing all of this manually, and there's lots of different platforms that you guys can use for your scheduling services, and we're going to talk about that on the next page when we talk about analytics, because most of those services go hand in hand. And then enlist help. I already said I have a team that helps me with this, Leah in particular, and there's lots of ways to enlist help here. If you have any millennials in your life, like go talk to them, see if this is something they want to do on a part-time basis. You can always go on to like a contract sort of search site like Fiverr, and find someone there and start to get some support in that way. But you as the founder, as a leader in your company, this is huge for you to take on all by yourself, knowing everything else that you have on your plate. And I would say it's such a vital piece of the business that invest here and get some help. Okay, so the analytics piece of it. So you've identified your goals, you've built out your blueprint, you have built out your community, engaged with your community, you're growing it great, you've decided whether or not you're doing ads, and now you're analyzing. what's working and what isn't. And here's 5 companies that we like as potential options for you guys to consider. And they all, as I said, will do the analytics piece of it, but also the scheduling component. Some of them have free account options, so you can start and test and learn without having to invest a bunch here. But great ones to look at. And again, I would recommend doing that right away. Other data that you guys really want to be monitoring is your audience size. So watch your numbers, your followers as they increase from week to week or month to month. And then watch what messages are generating the most engagement. And you're doing this again because you can iterate those, you can put out additional content in that same way, and you start to use those as your foundation when you develop your advertising plan. You want to use the posts that are already sort of getting the most engagement. Promo code redemptions, obviously, if you're doing sales or tracking a promo, you'll be able to do that. Customer responses, this is useful for improving or validating your product line or reducing the groupthink that happens. You know, we are guilty of this at Kate LaBrosse Consulting, and I think every organization in the world is guilty of this, that we're all in our little bubbles and we think what we're doing is the most amazing thing. And we need to get out of that to see what the actual response is from people not in it on the day-to-day world. You can do look at week-long campaign performance against sales reports and use various social media analytics service for in-depth marketing research. So all of these, as I said, will have analytics that they will provide back to you. Okay, so that's all kind of your basis and game plan for social media. Then there's some things that you can do still really more in the digital space that can enhance your campaign and your sales results. So the first is influencer marketing. And influencer marketing is just a form of marketing that leverages a person's popularity and influence to promote your brand. Authentically is the key. And we're going to talk more about how to ensure that you get that authentic promotion from someone who is the right fit for your brand and your audience. And there's some numbers there that I think are interesting, but we know that the influence of others has a huge piece to play on the choices that we make in our lives and what we choose to put our time and attention on and where we choose to put our dollars. And the influencer market in particular, 31% of people say that influencers and celebrities are influential over their purchase decisions. And this isn't going away. We're seeing this, you know, continue to evolve and will be a bigger piece of the pie in the future. Here, I think if you guys are tech savvy, you can take a screenshot of this. This kind of breaks down by the different categories, master categories in the natural products industry: supplements, food and beverage, beauty or body care, and home goods, and what are kind of the right lifestyle influencers to engage for your brand. And there's a good website here that you guys can check out that will give you a list of reputable vendors. But a few tips to think about here as you are determining who is the right influencer for you and your brand. One is relevance. So before you look at unique visitors or other stats or analytic metrics from an influencer's site, it's important to look for how aligned they are and their content is with your messaging and your brand. You want to read through their old posts. You want to look at any blogs that they have. You want to see what their consumer engagement looks like and how consumers are responding to them, how their audience is responding to them. Are they responding to them? Their engagement. That's an indicator to show how interactive their audience is. Are people commenting, sharing, reposting in some way? What's their reach? While not the most important metric, it's one that you need to really consider and look at the unique visitors that they have, not the repeat. That will give you kind of a better eye on how big their audience is. But again, it's a bit more about how much of a fit, how relevant and resonant they are to you and your brand, and how relevant and resonant they are to your community and theirs. You can also look for frequency. So there's a direct correlation many times between how often a blogger posts and their traffic and rate of return visitors. And it often takes multiple exposures to get a visitor to click and check out on your site. And so you want to make sure that they come back in that way. So how frequent are what they're putting out? And then authenticity. This is a theme throughout this whole thing, and is at the heart of every marketing effort that you do. Influencers have to have a smaller ratio of sponsored content. Influencers who have a smaller ratio of sponsored content tend to be more trusted and appear more authentic. So personal stories, personal shares, really showing up authentic with their own audience, just in the same way I'm coaching you guys to show up authentic with yours. That's what you want to look for here. And then kind of a checklist for your pre and post campaign. Now that you've determined that you want to start an influencer campaign and you've identified your goals in launching a campaign, and you've vetted out the influencers that you want to partner with, and you've chosen the right products to promote, know that not every product in your portfolio is right for the influencer space or right for specific influencers. And know here, and this honestly goes the same for retailers and promotional plans that you're working with retailers, but you don't have to promote your entire line. And in fact, in this particular arena, I recommend that you don't. And please, please, please don't use this as a way to resurrect a dying product. You want to use this in a product that really has the most potential, that's already a top seller for you, in a new item that you're launching, not to resurrect a dying item. Then from there, you need to negotiate a package or a single activity based on the list of options from that particular influencer. And some factors to consider here around this are their posting requirements or your posting requirements, engagement rate, the quality of the content, what's their celebrity status, if any, the value of any free products given. And then the final step is to budget and submit your proposal to the influencer. Other things to consider here are make sure the influencer will include product specific highlights whenever possible, your brand, and recommend that are you guys hearing me okay? I'm getting an internet thing. We're good? Okay. Recommend that the influencer ask its fans to like the post and to answer a question in the comments to be entered into that giveaway. And then, as I already said several times, make sure that the influencer is posting true and accurate reflections of their personal experience and beliefs about you and your brand. The more authentic this is, the better. So from the influencer space, then you can kind of graduate into the affiliate marketing space. Affiliate marketing, as you can see, is on pace to become a $6.8 billion industry just in the US alone. And so we've outlined here several things that you should think about as you build your process and your support tools to launch an affiliate marketing campaign. We want to create a program that you're able to send out to influencers and other affiliate marketers. And the typical affiliate program is going to be about 20% commission on every sale that they make. And you want to provide a clear instructional guideline for establishing these partnerships in your products. You want to create a sell sheet here. So just like you have a sell sheet of your products that you give to a retailer, you want to have a sell sheet of your affiliate marketing program. Include easy to read step-by-step instructions, take out the intimidation factor for them, make it really easy for them to say yes. Include really, their whole toolkit that they're going to need to use in their affiliate marketing. So your product images, your ingredient, your facts panel, descriptions, your pricing, your MSRP pricing and your MAP pricing. Make sure that all of those are included. In the initial launch plan, I would say don't take on any more than 10 influencers at one, or affiliate marketers at one time. I would start with less than 10. In fact, I would start with just a couple. And you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions to determine who the right folks are for you. You want to evaluate their business longevity, assess their reputation, ensure that their theme is coherent with your theme, and determine if they're selling any other competing brands or competing products. Then you're going to select a time period with which you will work with these affiliate marketers, and make sure that if there is a seasonal relevance to your products or your brand, that you're working within that seasonality. And you can offer discounted pricing to match your MAP pricing. So you can offer, basically promotional pricing like you would to retailers, but make sure that it doesn't go below your MAP pricing. And then operations, how are you actually going to really kind of manage this? So you need to establish with the influencer if they're going to warehouse the product or if you're going to do drop ship, which is more likely the case, and how you're going to process payments. They're going to have all of this most likely outlined in their guidelines, and we'll be able to kind of tell you how that's done. And then you're going to track and incentivize the volume milestones and see how they do. Okay, and then the last piece before we get to in-store marketing and hand it off to Erin is subscription boxes. So these are sort of like digital marketing because these guys are all, have strong digital platforms, and, they're also receiving physical products. So this is a great way for you to continue to build your brand awareness. How this works is that brands provide free product to companies that assemble and ship monthly. It's often theme-based, and these companies and these boxes will have a very specific lifestyle or demographic theme that they are following. So not every subscription box company is going to be the right company for you. And then this investment, it offers you as a brand a broader consumer exposure and potentially increased traffic to your website. So just another thing for you to think about here as you build your total marketing campaign. Okay, so now, as I said, we're going to hand it off to Aaron, and he's going to talk with you guys about in-store marketing and what levers you can pull there to really increase your velocity and drive consumer awareness in store.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Before I dive into this, I want to challenge you to think about two things. I want you to consider yourself as a retailer, somebody who is selling a bunch of products. And I want you then to consider the fact that every bit of shelf space, every bit of floor space in a retailer is rentable space. And any product that is put in that store, on that floor, in a corner, on the wall, needs to be paying its rent. So as you consider what your products are going to look like and what you're going to do to make them move, make sure that you're making it easy for that valuable real estate to turn as much money as possible for those retailers. You'll have the strongest partnerships possible if you go in with that in mind. So the 5 Ps for retail sales success. It's not just what your product looks like, but it's where it's placed in the stores. It's how much it's going to cost the customer that's going in there. It's whatever sales or promotions you're doing to the product to help it move even better. And what that packaging, what your product looks like in the shelves to catch the buyer's eye. Because keep in mind that 60% of decisions by shoppers who are in stores, they are making in 2.3 seconds standing in that aisle. That's including everybody who's done research online already. And as soon as they're standing in that store, there's a 2.3 second window on average that people go, yes, I'm going to buy that, or boy, that's not for me. And so getting to what I was saying about real estate and how products fit in the stores and how they work in the stores. Number one, keep in mind when you're developing your product, packaging, where there's a bottle or a box, what it goes into, how much space are you taking up on those shelves? The average retailer's shelf set is a 4-foot wide shelf. You're not doing yourself or the retailer any favors if your brand, if the number of items that you make either flows over that 4-foot set or falls so short that now there's an unusable piece of space on that shelf. These are decisions that will actually drive some retailers to say, I'm not carrying that product because it's not helping me on the shelf. Keep in mind that your products need to look like a brand, but they have to look different from one another, because otherwise it gets, as you can see in this example from Cascadian Farms, we've got a before and after picture here. That chocolate chip looks very much like that harvest berry. And that's a frustrating thing as a consumer. If you grab the wrong box and you get home and you realize, oh, I thought it was chocolate chip. You can see how Cascadian went back to the drawing board. They made a very distinct difference between the two actual items while maintaining their brand billboard on the shelf, which is helping for their total advertising. And lastly, and almost as importantly as anything, is the merchandisability of your product. making it easier not only for customers to buy it, but for the retailers that are stocking your products to have it on their shelves. These are a couple of examples, and it just happens to be that these are all General Mills brands. But for example, the Liberté yogurts there, if you look at them closely, they're a rounded off triangle. And as sexy of an idea as that is, because it stands out from all of the other circles on there, it's a really difficult product to merchandise if you're a retailer. Most of those shelves are backfilled, and as you're pushing those things forward, that shape causes them to roll out of place from one another. It makes it it's labor intensive for the retailer to have to try and sell your product. Muir Glen with their tomato cans. You hopefully all of your brands will someday be the biggest, baddest brands on the marketplace, and you can get away with a lot of things. Most brands can't. Muir Glen is an example where their tomato cans forever and a day were not nesting, meaning when they stack, they don't fit inside of one another. And what happens inevitably is those cans are tipping and falling, and it's just a headache. Keep in mind how to make it easy to merchandise your product. Retailers take this into consideration when they're choosing products, and you want to be on the winning end of that stick.
Yeah, and Aaron, I know you have a really good story, speaking of sort of like, you know, the leading brands in a category about honest tea. And this speaks to, you know, not just your horizontal, you know, shelf, you know, placement, but the vertical placement and what this means. So understanding the typical set sizes and shelf heights when you are creating your brand packaging.
It's a very good point, Kate. To your, you know, honesty again, one of the big bad power players in the marketplace, because they're so important to the industry. When they changed their bottle that they'd been in for 25, 30 years, and they made it just half an inch taller, that required every store that wanted to sell that product to do entire tea resets just to get that product on the shelf. Most of us aren't big enough yet that a retailer is going to take that much effort, and which means you're probably going to be on the losing end of the stick. This also reminds me that it's not just how tall your product is, it's not just how wide it is or how it stacks, but also keep in that mind that most stores these days are not building themselves to have back room space to warehouse overstock. And shelves are, generally speaking, only so deep. So keep in mind not only the way your product looks and how it stacks, but how it cases out, and make it easier for retailers to have as much of your product on the shelf that they don't have to babysit back stock, because these are also things that go towards their buying decisions.
Yeah, that's great, Aaron. And the one other point I'll make on that actually relates to the industry standards around free fills or placement discounts and slotting fees. And so there's a lot of brands that have moved towards a smaller case pack size. One, because as Aaron said, it's that you can pack it out and it's going to fit on the shelf. And two, because it's going to save you as a brand more money in the long run, because you're not giving away 12 of something, you're giving away 6 of something, or a discount. So just something to think about there as you create your case pack sizes.
Good point. You want to win in the stores by standing out, and also making it easier for customers to buy your product by giving them information to do so. With COVID, more and more stores are relaxing their clean store policies and are allowing things like shelf talkers. Not all still do, but a number of them do. These are great. It's just one more thing to make your products stand off on the shelf, and it gives some education. Pamphlets and brochures, more education. Generally, stores will have those towards the front of the store. Maybe some HBC and body care departments will have set libraries where you can grab this type of information. Sample packs, especially in the age of COVID, where most demos are being discouraged in stores. Sample packs allow you to make it easier for a customer to try your product first before they put their money where their mouth is. And especially if you got a good product that samples well, this is an easy way to ease them into it. Dispensers, especially as it pertains to beverages, Again, COVID is slowing down the use of these to a very great extent, but once we come back to a bit more normalcy, this will allow people to try the product first, especially for those more esoteric beverages out there. If it just makes it a lot easier for people to let go of their money when they know that they're going to like it before they buy it. Posters, banners, cubes, these are all brilliant things. Usually they work best on end caps and promotional displays where you've made an agreement with a retailer so that they're stocking a decent quantity of your product at a special price point. Just it calls you out like a banner even beyond just a bunch of your product on the shelf. And then branded swag. Swag, for those of you who don't know, it's just a term for freebies and goodies and giveaways, bags, t-shirts, hats, freezer or refrigerated gloves for staff. This is not just stuff that gets given away to consumers as a thank you or a way to impel them to buy more of your product. But now your product, if the staff is wearing it, you've got a whole walking billboard walking through that store talking about your product. So if somebody is out there stocking the ice cream and they're wearing a set of Ben and Jerry's freezer gloves, it's just one more mental impression on somebody who's got 40 different brands to choose from. It also makes those freezer buyers and those refrigerator buyers a lot happier because they now have toasty, non-slip fingers that you have made it possible for them to have. Coupons. Coupons go hand in hand with all of the stuff we just talked about. Coupons, also known as IRCs, instant redeemable coupons. Those can be both tear off things in the aisle or, and I can't stress this enough, retailers really love if you're capable of having stick-on coupons put onto your product before they even get put in cases, before they even get shipped to the stores. They tend to be more attractive. They tend to be strategically placed on your label. And it's one less thing that is muddying up their shelves by sticking off of it, or once those tear pads get down to empty, now it's a blank piece of cardboard laying there. The store's not Johnny on the spot of cleaning them off. It's an unattractive piece to look at. It's not a reason not to make them available, but if you're capable of putting your coupon stuck stuck onto your items, you're going to make the retailers that much happier. Obviously, everybody's looking for a good deal, and if you're $2 off next to your competitor next to you, you're probably going to gain that sale.
Yeah, and I would add just a couple points here. As you think about launching a coupon program, there's for sure some strategy behind this, and I think there's going to be some test and learn here. And you guys can test, sort of couponing off of your DTC site first, and see what price points are really helping to move the needle, or what dollar or percentage off is getting customers to say yes, and understand your margins and how this is going to come into play. It's not just the cost of the actual discount. There's a cost associated with the clearinghouse that you're going to use here. And there really is a price strategy. And I think that if your products lend themselves to it, you can do, multi-unit coupons where it's a 2 for or a 5 for. So think about strategically that way, what makes sense for your brand. And I think that, to me, sometimes the benefit of the coupon is, depending upon your product, you can actually get away with less of a discount than you would have to give on a promotion, if it's sort of, strategic for your product or your category. So just things to think about that you can really kind of test and learn around there.
Very well said. Okay. And displays. Displays can be tricky because some stores still do have those clean floor policies, which means they do not allow this type of stuff to go out there. However, if you are capable of designing, producing, and providing these types of tools, they can generate you a ton of money. Number one reason is, as I mentioned earlier, every square foot potentially is rentable space. So all of a sudden, if now you have a shipper or a rolling display on the floor that was before just an empty piece of tile, you have now generated hundreds of dollars for that retailer. let alone for yourself, and you can come across looking like a hero. Please keep in mind as you consider designing these types of tools, make them robust, make them hold up to use because they are going to be used. Many of them are going to be refilled multiple times, so they've got to hold up to that. But I can tell you, nothing's more frustrating to a retailer who puts up a shipper on the floor shelf that the first time it gets knocked into by somebody's cart, that it just disintegrates. It falls over, and then when they're trying to refill it again, it just doesn't hold it doesn't keep its structural integrity. Keep that in mind when you're designing these things. Also, most of our we're in the natural foods industry. Everybody is interested in a greener environment. And so making these things out of a cardboard that has one use is also frustrating to these stores. Make them hold up so that they can refill them, they can restock them. There are ways for you to create deals for stores. Generally, these displays, you're offering this to the stores with a discount alongside of them as an incentive for them to bring the product in. They're bringing a bit more items in than they normally would have. And generally speaking, they're putting a sale price on these displays. So if you're in a position of being able to then have you, yourself, your sales rep, write these stores an additional fill order through their distributor or directly, they can keep reusing that display to move more and more of your product. These displays come in multiple different types. The two smaller ones here are things that go right on a shelf, right on a counter. The two bigger floor displays, as the name implies, are on the floor. It's great to have things that have wheels on them that they can move around to different locations. Keep people hunting for your product. Keep surprising people. There's some people who are going to walk right by your display one day if it's in aisle A, but 2-3 days later, if they're coming in and it's been moved to aisle C, all of a sudden they're going to see it. So make it mobile, make it capable of standing up to use, and make it attractive, and keep price point in mind when you're building these things because they can become expensive.
Aaron, the other couple points I would make here is that if you're going to do a permanent display, if that's sort of what you're opting for, make sure that you're writing into the retailer agreement that they keep it filled with your product for X amount of time. Whether that's, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever that might be, but that you're writing that into that contract so that there's an expectation that will tell you, and I'm sure Aaron will back me up here, that all too often you will find, a branded display with product not from that brand.
Absolutely.
This just happens. And so, write that into the agreement and know that at some point that retailer is going to put other product on your display, or they're going to get rid of it altogether. That's going to happen. And then Aaron, maybe you can just kind of quickly talk to us outside of actually having a shipper. I think that you can actually push displays on a retailer, their end cap or a side stack or a side table through promotion. So you could offer some sort of a case stack deal even without a display.
Absolutely, yes. We generally in the broker world call them shipper fills, case stack deals, hip pocket deals, that type of thing. It's generally tied to volume. It's generally tied to a minimum number of SKUs. So there is a commitment on the retailer's part for you giving them that extra discount. And it's a great tool. It can be above, beyond, and in addition to promotions you might have already set up with distributors or something that's on your regular national calendar.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And demos. We love demos. It's too bad we can't do more of them these days. Hopefully that changes here in the near future, right? Because nothing sells, especially food product, like a demo. Demos, generally speaking, tied to a promotion are the absolute best. Most stores have two different types of demo programs available to them, and that's passive demos and active demos. And they're pretty self-explanatory, but a passive demo is basically where you provide the stores with product to give away, hopefully with educational materials to give away, hopefully with the tools to actually make the demo possible, whether it be cups or napkins or forks or you name it. Active demos, there's some more engagement there, and there's more of an investment on both parties' parts. Active demos are usually tied to a promotion. So the store is committing to you to buy X amount of product in order to qualify for the demo. In exchange, you're not only providing them with all the materials and all the product to give away, but you're also usually paying somebody to staff that demo, to physically be handing out, pouring, cutting, serving the products, as well as educating the potential consumer right there in the moment as to why they should be buying your product.
Cool. Great. Thank you, Aaron. The one other thing I'll say about demos too is that, some stores won't allow you to have your own demo person in store. They'll have their demo organization or internal demo folks that they use, and we'll have policies around this. So just something else to think about. So that brings us to just our final takeaways. There was a lot of information in this presentation, so we just kind of wanted to sum up a few key points for you. So first, having a social media strategy is imperative in today's market, and it's going to be a selling point with retail buyers. Strongly encourage you to build out in your retail presentation deck what you're doing in the social media space, what your audience looks like, what kind of engagement you have, and how you're able to activate that community on a retailer's behalf. And then start with Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Create your social media blueprint. Start with your plan, start with your goals, get really clear on what that's going to look like. Make sure that you're mixing up the type of content that you're sharing and make it personal. Like if there's nothing else that you guys get from us and this presentation is make it personal. Consider adding in a blog or a newsletter to help build credibility and drive your website traffic to your website. Engagement is key. This is a personal relationship. Don't think of it in any other way. You don't have to advertise right away. Build your community first and then test and learn. Managing your social media platforms effectively takes a big effort. It's a beast. So make sure you have the right support, the right tools, the right platforms that you're using, and the right help on your team. Use influencers and affiliate marketers and subscription boxes to increase your reach. Start with the 5 Ps for winning in store. Know the basics and get them right. Have the right merchandising, promotional, and education materials for your brand, and demos. These will come back at some point. As Aaron said, we all want them to come back. We miss them. But for now, stop complaining about not being able to do demos. No one can do demos. You are in the same boat as everyone else. And we gave you a whole bunch of other levers that you can pull to increase your brand awareness, to increase trial purchase on your products. So go get them, and good luck to all of you. And thank you so much for attending our last webinar session in the year. As I said, we will be back in early mid-January to do our launch of 2021, our 2021 series. And we're going to start with a presentation on cultivating a strategy to build a national brand and the trends that are a part of that, as well as who you are and how you show up in selling and representing your brand. So everyone have a wonderful holiday season, and thanks so much for being here today.